What's up, gang? It's your boy Wolfpack Chris, and we're back again with another educational series. So in the last body recomp videos, we talked about tracking macros, we talked about fat loss, we talked about muscle gains, and we pretty much covered generalities of getting in shape, right? What everybody wants to do. So what I've noticed in talking to a lot of people who talk about wanting to lose weight, wanting to gain muscle, wanting to do all of these great things that we want to do to get ourselves healthy and in shape, I tend to get the feeling that when they step on the scale, they thinking that the scale is going to tell them whether or not they're losing weight or whether they're gaining weight. And as a generality, that is true, but it's not 100% accurate. So that's what today's lesson is going to be about, tracking progress, and I'm going to teach you guys how to track your progress. And at the end of this video, within this video, there's going to be links to spreadsheets and other materials and tools that you can use at home to track your progress and hopefully help you on your journey to fitness and your goals and get that body by summer. Too late, guys. It's summertime. Summer's already here. But it doesn't mean you can't start working on getting that body ready for winter and be ready by the time next summer comes around. So, without wasting any more of you guys' time, let's get right into the lesson. So, tracking progress. The first thing we need to talk about is what is fat, how is fat in the body, how do you carry fat in the body? So I drew a little mock-up. Don't laugh at my drawing. I'm not an artist, but this is very general and easy. So if you look at the blue portion, that is representation of your skin. Under your skin, you have fat. Fat is a layer that sits on top of your muscle. The black is represents the muscle, which is your abs. The red represents the fat that sits in between the skin and the muscle. And then under the muscle, you have your organs, which is your stomach. Now, let's talk about weight for a minute. A lot of people, like I said, jump on the scale. You'll get on the scale, and today you'll weigh, let's say, 225. And then tomorrow you get on the scale and you weigh 230, 231 pounds. How do you go from 225 to 230 to 231? Well, that's quite simple. A lot of people don't realize that you carry a approximate weight of 4 to 5 pounds of food in your stomach. So let's say you ate for the day, you ate breakfast, lunch, dinner, plus snacks. You did not go to the bathroom, and you wake up the next morning, you still haven't gone to the bathroom, you get on the scale, that 225, you're holding 4 to 5 pounds of food in your stomach, has gone from 225 to 230, 231. Now, that's not including the water weight that you might be carrying, because you also got to remember how much water you're drinking throughout the day. And if you haven't sweated a lot of that water out, if you haven't peed a lot of that water out, what's keeping water in your body? Have you been eating a lot of spicy foods lately, a lot of salty foods lately? Salt is a water retention agent, so the more salty foods you eat, the more water you're going to retain, and the more you're going to throw off that scale number. So I tell people all the time, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to lose fat, you have to think of losing weight differently than what you are traditionally taught weight loss is. People are traditionally taught that I get on the scale and that's going to tell me how much weight I gained or lost. Not entirely true. I just debunked that by telling you guys about the difference that weight makes from day-to-day basis, depending on how much food you got in your stomach, how much water you got in your body. Now, let's get to the real deal, the things that people really care about, not the weight, the fat loss. You should care about fat loss, not so much about weight loss. And we'll talk about the importance that weight loss carries in tracking your progress here in a second. But let's start with fat loss. Excuse me. So as I stated earlier, you have muscle, you have skin, and you have fat in between. So when we talked about the macronutrients, fat loss, and all that good jazz, we talked about sending your body into a caloric deficit. So pretty much, not to go too far in detail, when your body starts to burn fat, it's burning calories. So prior to burning fat, your body is using a fuel source. Your body needs a fuel source in order for those calories to be burned. So where are those calories being stored to be burned as the fuel source for your body? Number one, carbohydrates. That's your body's primary fuel source. Everybody. So if you're eating a lot of carbs, then your body is going to be fueled off of carbohydrates. That's going to be the first place that your body goes to burn calories. What's the second place that your body goes to burn calories? Fats. So you hear a lot of people talk about carbs are the enemy, carbs are the devil. That's not entirely true. You can't eat carbs. So if you notice on the macro count, when we did the macro count video, we talked about carbs, fats, proteins, right? And I told you guys that in order to go into a fat loss deficit, a weight loss, a caloric deficit, you have to eat so many grams of carbs, so many grams of proteins, and so many grams of fats. Now, what happens if somebody eats over that amount of carbs that they were prescribed to eat for their personal macro count? Well, if you eat over, then you're going to burn what you were designed to burn, but you're going to have a surplus of carbohydrates in your body just sitting there not being used. Your body is not processing them. So what happens? That excess carbohydrates gets processed into glucose and then later on processed into stored fat. So what you don't burn here turns up and goes here. And that's how you start adding fat. So when you cut this down and you're only burning what you're designed to burn per day, when you've depleted the carbohydrates, let's say we depleted it, the check in the block means we burnt all the carbs that we put in our body for the day, but we still are burning calories. We still need a fuel source. Let's say I got a quarter tank of gas, right? Let's say my quarter tank of gas is represented as my carbohydrates. And that's all the gas, that's the only fuel source I'm gonna use for the day. Let's say I'm a hybrid car and I got a quarter tank of gas and my gas is the carbohydrates. The battery that takes over is my fats, right? So I burnt through my quarter tank of gas, which means I have no more fuel from gasoline or petroleum to get me through the day to where I need to go. But I still have a whole day to get through before my day is over with. So now I'm running off of my battery, right? I'm a hybrid car. I finished up my gas and I burnt up my carbs. Now I'm purely operating off of what power I got left in my battery. That's the fats. So now your body is going to your fat stores, your fat source as a source of fuel for energy. So it's burning calories out of your fats. So now that you start burning calories out of your fats, these fats are starting to deplete and leave the body. And that's how people lose fat. Now, as you begin to lose this fat, what's happening? Let's say we're losing about that much fat. What happens with the skin? Now, that belly done got a little bit smaller, right? Because this is the belly around the stomach. With that happening, now we're losing inches. And that's how you truly track fat loss, in inches. So let's come over here to our fat loss versus weight loss. Let's talk about fat loss real quick. So, well, let's not talk about fat loss. Let's go back to weight loss real quick. So in weight loss, what is weight? Weight is how much you weigh when you step on that scale. That's how much you weigh. We want to get away from the idea of thinking about losing fat in terms of weight. We want to think about losing fat in terms of inches. So let's talk about what actual weight of the body is. What makes up the body's weight? Fat in the body. That makes up body weight. So how much fat you got in your body is a contribution to your body weight. Muscle in the body. How much muscle you have in your body is a contribution to the weight of your overall total body weight. Your organs and your bones. So the amount of weight that your organs, your stomachs, liver, kidneys, lungs, all that good jazz, plus your bones combined together is a contribution to your body weight. And then if you notice, I have these two blocks here underlined in blue: food in the body, water in the body. These things here, you can't control it. Well, you can control it, but you can't control it. You can control fat in the body, and you can control muscle in the body. Organs and bones, not so much. That's just the way it's going to be. It's just going to be there. But the things that fluctuate your weight the most, more so than fat and muscle, is going to be food in the body and water in the body. And again, as I said in the beginning of this video, these two things here are the reason when you step on the scale day to day, you might see a fluctuation up or a fluctuation down. That's why this is not a true accurate representation of what you're losing versus what you're gaining. So now that we've covered weight loss and weight of the body, let's talk about fat loss and fat in the body. What everybody really cares about, right? So fat loss. Fat in the body, as we said, you can control fat in the body. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you're not going to see a lot of fluctuations in this day to day. You'll see fluctuations on the scale from this, maybe on a week to week basis. Again, like we talked about in the macro count, when we talked about fat loss or the fat loss video, if you're losing on average between 2 to 3 pounds of fat, then you can take that plus whatever your food and water imbalances are day to day, add that. If you have more than 5 pounds, say 8 pounds of imbalance week to week, you can make a good fair determination that you've either gained fat in the body or you've lost fat in the body, being that 3 pounds, 2 to 3 pounds of that 8 pound fluctuation is actually body fat, and the rest of it being water, food, and yeah, pretty much water and food. So fat in the body, fat leaving the body, and then inches of fat decreasing. So if you get on that scale and we on that 8 pound fluctuation and you fluctuate it down, I mean, you completely dry down there and you damn near empty. Let's say you down 225, you down 225, 220. Let's say you're down to 218 pounds, 225 to 218 within a week. Then you can make a fair determination that you've probably lost 2 to 3 pounds of fat. Now, is that going to be very noticeable when you talk about actual inches? Probably not. You'll probably take a tape measure and measure your stomach. You probably won't see no change. Maybe in your neck, you might see a little bit of change. You might see a little bit of change in the face, but 2 to 3 pounds of fat loss, you're not going to see very much noticeable change. But that's in 1 week's time, right? So let's talk about 10 to 15 pounds of fat loss. You're definitely going to see a lot more progression in about a month or so, a month and a half, month or two. And more so, you'll see it in the face, right? So if you're a chubby person, you know what I'm saying, you got a big belly, you got a chubby chest, chubby neck, you know what I'm saying, chubby face again, the body is going to burn that fat from the easiest place possible. And those are the easiest places. That's where you start to notice more fat loss more than anything. And people tend to get discouraged because they don't see the fat coming off of the belly more than they see it coming off of the face. You got to remember, you're burning fat everywhere in your body. So it's going to take time before you get to where you need to be. Remember, if you got fat sitting up here in your chest, let's say this is your chest, and you're working on down to your stomach, let's pretend, then as soon as you get that skin pressed up against the muscle, and let's say you sitting around about 10 to 15% body fat up here, then your body has no other place to burn fat except for here. So now it's going to go to the stomach and start burning it. And that's when you start cutting down that fat, start losing that weight. So, covered fat loss versus weight loss. We talked about weight and fat in the body. Now let's talk about ways of tracking. If I said that the scale is not the best or a great accurate way of tracking your body fat, then what is the best and accurate way of tracking your body fat? So, body measuring tape. I have in my hand right here a healthometer. This is a digital tape. You take it, you put it here in this little loop, take the tape, put it in this loop. You got a little button here that turns it on and off. Button up here that tells you your setting. And this will pretty much take an inch measurement anywhere on your body. So they have different settings, right? It'll start off with your chest. You'll take a measurement of your chest. And then it'll have a measurement for your neck. You'll take a measurement of your neck. You take a measurement of your arms, your biceps, your thighs. And this will pretty much tell you how much inches of fat you got sitting in each one of those areas. Now, why is that important? Because if you were to do this on a bi-weekly to a monthly basis, and you were actually eating your fat loss macros, you were actually doing your physical activity, you're doing everything you're supposed to do to lose fat, and you see fluctuation coming down on the scale, but you get in the mirror and you're not really seeing a whole lot in the mirror, you do this bad boy, you tape yourself, record those numbers, come back 2 weeks later to a month later, do it again, record those numbers. I guarantee you somewhere on your body you're going to notice a fluctuational change, and that's going to tell you where you're losing fat and how much fat you're losing. Now, another way to tell is in your clothes, right? So in inches, we talked about fat loss in inches. So in 2 weeks to a month, if you go to put on your pants and you wear a size 36 inch in the waist, and that sits pretty snug on you, but you notice that it's starting to sit a little loose around your waist, that's fat loss in inches. You have now indicated a loss of inches. Other thing I'm going to show you guys is a body fat caliper. This is a digital caliper. You can get a regular mechanical caliper. They have tables and charts that'll tell you in inches how much this number correlates by height, weight, and age to body fat percentage, and that'll pretty much track your body fat percentage. That'll tell you whether you're sitting in the 30% to the 20 to 15% range. And that's also another good way to track fat loss. This here is made by a company called Fat Track Fitness. You can get this on Amazon. You can also get the Healthometer digital tape on Amazon. That's where I got mine, and I'll probably put a link up here so you guys can find that. So, body measure tape. And then the second one. If you don't want to do this at home, you want to spend the money, you got a little money to splurge, you can do a hydrostatic displacement test. What is that? That's pretty much where you go to a health clinic, they put you in a pool, they put you in a sling of some sorts, and they'll put your body in the water. And based on all these crazy calculations, depending on how much water your body has displaced in the pool, they can make a damn near accurate determination of how much body fat you have in your body. You go do that 1 month, you do your macros, your physical activity, come back, do it the next month, and if you've lost weight, you'll notice a difference in your body fat from the first month to the next month. That's only if you got the money. And I don't think it costs that much, maybe around about $50, $60. So if you got the money to splurge, hydrostatic displacement is a good option. And then you got the bipod, air displacement. This is the cheapest. I've actually went and done this. I did this when I was in Jacksonville, Florida. It didn't cost me nothing but $40. It was a pretty cool test, and I also placed a my results in this video so you guys can see it too. And pretty much, man, it does the same thing as a hydrostatic displacement. The only difference is you don't have to get in a pool. They put you in this pod pretty much. They close the door. They have you take all your clothes off down to your underwear, and they close the door, and pretty much they use air. They fill the pod with air, and they use your body weight to measure the displacement that you're displacing that air in that pod. And that does a weird, crazy calculation similar to the hydrostatic displacement test. And that gives you the calculation of what your body fat is. So, I think we touched on everything we needed to touch on in terms of body fat and weight. The biggest things I want you guys to take away from this video is one. Before we close this out, let's talk about the scale, the infamous scale, right? That's the one thing we hadn't talked about yet. So if I say that the scale is not going to be the accurate representation of fat loss and not to depend or rely on the scale so much for progress and results, then what the hell is the scale's actual purpose for? Why do we need a scale? Why do we even care about the scale in the first place? Well, the scale plays a critical role in tracking your progress, because if you're doing the measuring tape and you're doing your month to month, then you can track your weight daily to see on a consistent basis from week to week, from a day-to-day, week-to-week perspective, what you're trending. So if your numbers are consistently going down from day to day on a week-to-week basis, then you can make an accurate determination that you're actually losing fat despite some of that actual weight being water and food, right? So if I'm jumping anywhere between true weight loss in 2 to 3 weeks of let's say 6 to 8 pounds, then I should see a trend coming down on that scale, for 6 to 8 pounds for that 2 week period. And the same thing if I'm gaining weight going up on the upper side, I should see a trend of 6 to 8 pounds of fat gain with the scale. So that just pretty much tells me I'm tracking progress, that the food that I'm eating, the way that I'm eating, the way that I'm training is actually working, and I'm actually in a fat loss state. It's not accurate, but it's pretty much a trending analysis of tracking of what your body is actually doing, how your body is responding to the food that you're eating and the actual physical activity that you've thrown at it. It does not determine fat loss. It only tracks trending progress. That's what your scale is there for. So again, I hope this has been educational for you guys. I hope I didn't bounce all over the place. I hope you guys could understand what I was saying. Again, I try to do this on an 8th grade level. I am not a scientist. I'm not a dietitianist. I'm not a nutritionist, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. I've learned it by going to do my own study and research. Study and research goes quite deeply in detail about how all this shit works. I don't care about the details of it. I care about the generalities, and these are the general facts. This is exactly how it works, folks. If you do this, if you track your body fat, stop looking at your weight loss so hard and just use your scale as a trending tracker from day to day to make a determination whether you're actually on track for fat loss, then you will have no problems. You'll do great, and you'll be excited just watching your numbers fall from month to month, because that's what really counts. That's what I care about. I care about the month to month, long-term look versus the day-to-day, week-to-week. I only care about day-to-day, week-to-week for a trending analysis. But the main thing I care about is the month-to-month fat loss. So this is how you track your body fat. Again, I'm going to have some links in the description. I'm also going to have some pop-ups probably in this video that you guys can take a look at and use if you guys want to go out and buy some of this stuff. And yeah, this is it. So hook 'em horns, had to represent for the state of Texas. If you have any questions, issues, comments, concerns, feel free to hit me up in my inbox. Please leave a comment below. If you have my personal information, you can reach me that way. Have a blessed day. Iron Gang for life. Iron Gang out. Bye.